I was seeing what the techs did, what the therapist did, what the business development people did. I was seeing it as a very similar thing. So then I got over into like full-fledged business development. I started dressing differently. I started putting on a suit and a tie, and I started recognizing that people started treating me different. And that was interesting because the executives, I could tell they felt more comfortable with me dressing that way, but the therapists and the patients started putting me as other, like I was something else. Before dressing like this, I fit in a lot better. And that was just very surprising to me that began to happen. And the more that I started to associate myself with marketing and sales, the more that I realized that therapists had some level of disgust around this. So they're like, it's all about the product. It's all about the therapy. If I do great therapy, then I'll have a good business. And me, knowing what I knew about what it took to keep everybody employed, because that's what the responsibility of the business development department is, to make sure that the hospital stays open, I knew that that's not the case. You could be doing great therapy and you could still lose your job if I don't do my job. So me trying to help people out, all the while they're putting me at a distance, I thought this is really interesting because I'm a salesperson. I think you're a salesperson too. I would not say that to many people because they get upset with hearing that, but it's true that we're trying to create change. The other thing was I was a youth mental health first aid instructor at that time, and I found out that it's about a decade between the onset of a mental illness to the point that somebody reaches out to get help. And I thought that's a lot of damage that can be caused in a decade. Could marketing shorten the duration of the point where somebody recognizes they have a problem to the point where they feel comfortable to come in and see you guys? Yes, it could. And if it shortens that duration from 10 years down to 5 or down to 2, that's all that less damage that happens to somebody's identity, to their self-concept. And I wanted to shorten that duration. So for me, marketing and sales was never what it was to the people that I wanted to represent, that were putting me at a distance, thinking that I was something else. Christine was not one of those people. She immediately understood what it was that I did and how it was all connected. And that's probably why I started working with Christine relatively quickly. So the first part of this presentation, I'm going to deliver some truths that were hard for me transitioning from doing boots on the ground, the service, to being a business owner and understanding what it takes to run a business. I was in the bathroom and I was reading the signs in there, and I saw, I don't think it said Carol Dweck, but it was definitely growth mindset I saw in there. So a lot of these first 3 things I'm going to talk about are mindsets, but they're not growth mindset. They're a business mindset that was difficult for me to embrace. I came from a liberal arts school, and there was a certain philosophy that they teach in a liberal arts school that I kind of liked. It kind of felt right. And then I moved into business, and then I gravitated towards authors that kind of supported that message, and I sort of wanted to hear it anyways. So it kind of further reinforced what I already wanted to believe, kind of creating this sort of echo chamber for me. So some of these ideas, although I'll say them directly and point blank in this presentation because we only have so much time to get to it, if you see any of it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that, that's how I felt too. But it was nonetheless something that I had to balance myself out with understanding the importance of some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So this slide right here is just talking about how there's very little difference in a small company between what your marketing, your sales, and your customer service are. They're all one continuum, and often it's the same person that's doing all the different stuff. And I also believe that we should have very little separation between in-person and what's going on virtually. So you can see right now, this is a perfect example of it. I'm up here in person in front of you guys, but we're also on Zoom with Sean. We're also recording with these cameras right here that I can edit down and put onto a page. So all of this stuff really should be working synergistically. And that too is another reason that I think that, working with Kenosis has been great. You have ideas about podcasting. It has that signal that's built into it that this is authentic, this is real, this has actually happened, this is not AI created. So I think that that's a important message that I wanted to send to you guys. And quite frankly, it's something that when I work with larger companies, they have a really hard time with this because they have separate departments that have separate leaders. And those people should be cooperating. They should know what the brand is. That should be the same for customer service, for sales, and for marketing, but it's not always. and they don't always communicate very well. But if you're a small company, it's way easier to get everyone on board with what the brand actually is. So when I was putting this together, I had to make a decision on whether I wanted to water this down and give you the light version of it, and I decided not to do that. And I think that was a good choice based on, meeting everyone today. So I'm going to give it to you exactly the way that I understand it, the exact way that I would tell my team, but I do understand that there's a slight risk that I might try to take you from here to here, and that's not always the best choice. Sometimes you need to take people only as far as they can go, but I think that I made the right choice by our introductions today. So the first hard truth for me is competing. If you were to go into Kenosis Counseling Center and go into the office, you would see a whole list of books. Christine loves quotes. I don't know if you've noticed that, but she also has a whole bunch of books that those quotes came out of that she'll recommend that people read. One of those books is Strength Finders. I took Strength Finders to see who I am. And when I took it, I really did not want competition to be on there. Why? Because I had a liberal arts degree. And because I was taught that competing is bad. Competing is a destructive force. So I wanted to be a high achiever. Achievement is one of the strengths, but it's not competition. I didn't like it. It was hard for me to reintegrate that into my thought process. I was once a competitor. I don't know what happened to it. It went away. But I was once a wrestler. Vivi and I do jiu-jitsu together. It was in me. But over the years of being told that that's the wrong way to be, that it's destructive, that I kind of didn't want, I can't, that's the wrong way to be. And it's really a balance. You got to have cooperation and competition. I try to cooperate as well as I can with as many people as I can. But if you don't recognize that sometimes it's necessary to compete, it's really hard to have a successful business. The second hard truth is, and I think that we got to this one in the introductions today, that you have to value marketing and sales. So most of us come from a background where we do the thing. We build the widget, we provide the service, and we think that that's where the value's at. These people that are off meeting with people and taking them to lunch, and they have a fluffy job that's less important than me. I do the thing, the important thing, the thing that's sold. But those people that are out taking people to lunches, making sure that those people are referring business to the organization, they're really important too. And without them, the widget doesn't get sold and people start losing jobs and it becomes difficult. So I tell people this and people say, yeah, I agree. Marketing is one of the 5 functional areas of business. Of course it's true. And then I say, how much of your business, how much of your budget do you allocate towards marketing? I don't have a budget. I heard a 14%, so that's good. I don't have a budget. Well, that makes sense if you're brand new, if you're just starting out. So I say, your financial resource is not the only capital you have. You have social capital, you have human capital, you have time. So how much of your time do you spend towards marketing? Because this will let me know, because I don't really care what you know to be true. I want to see what your actions say. Do you value this? How much of your time do you spend in marketing? Not much at all. Well, how many of the relationships that you make every week, every month, how many of those are for getting referrals into your business? How many of them are for sales? How many of them for networking? Not too many. So I go through that process. Your education, how much of it is developing, helping you become better at providing the service or building the widget? And how much of it is geared towards helping you become a better salesperson, better marketer? So typically, people know that it's important, but if you come from the direct care side or from the building the thing, you often undervalue it so much to the point that your actions don't say that you value it. So we know we should value it, but we don't actually. Ooh, and this one, I thought this one was going to hit worse with therapists, that we need to be judgmental. I read a book. Has anyone ever read the 4 Agreements? Ooh, I read the 4 Agreements, and that kind of changed my life. That kind of changed my life. I didn't want to. Assumptions are upsetting, right? If I predict the future and I predict it wrong, that's where a lot of the frustration comes. But you know where a lot of the power comes from too. Vivi and I do jiu-jitsu. If Vivi is better at judging the situation and she's better about making assumptions based on those judgments, she has a way better chance of beating me. Because she can anticipate. She knows what's going to happen. She's predicting the future. She knows if I do this, he's going to do that, and I'm going to be on his neck. He's not. It doesn't matter if he's stronger than me. I'm going to have him because I know his type. I know what he does. Her prediction machine, if it's very sharp, she can compete at a very high level against somebody that's stronger than her. Well, we're entrepreneurs. We got to compete with people that are stronger, more financially strong than we are. So if we're smarter and we have better judgment, better discernment, we can make better assumptions. Better assumptions means that we can compete more effectively. That one was hard because that book, The Four Agreements, there's a lot of truth in that. And it's not that any of the stuff that I'm saying is this way or that way. It's not a binary type thing. It's a both and. If you're making too many, this is going to stress you out. Marketing is stressful because of this type of thing, that we're trying to predict the future. If I say it like this, that should make a difference. It doesn't. Oh man, I charged the client this amount of money and it didn't do the thing. It didn't make that type of thing is stressful. Mm-hmm. All of these, they're not, this is not saying that finance department's not important or the operations aren't important. It's just saying that this too has to hold its space. Same thing with competition. This is not saying that you should be not cooperative with people or you should be mean or anything. It just says that competition has its place and that we have to hold space for it. So those were the 3 hard truths that I had to learn and sometimes have to continue to learn. We're going to follow the same trend with these difficult things because I wanted to basically to give you this presentation as accurately as I could. This first one, initially I just had 1 through 4. So you got to find the market fit because that was my responsibility as a marketer, was just to take the thing and make it successful. But the more that I started marketing for people, the more I realized how hard it is if the pie is shrinking, if the market is bad, if you picked a bad area, it is really hard to market your way out of that. You're trying to take a larger and larger piece of a shrinking pie. That doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because you have to compete more than you can cooperate. It's just a very, very tough challenge. So I have people give that some serious thought about what you're trying to do. I know that it's important to you. Is that fight? And some fights are worth fighting, regardless of what happens with the market. So you might say, I don't care. This is important enough of a cause, I'm doing it anyways. And that's fine. Just the marketing may be more challenging. And then number 1 is finding a good fit between your brand is who you are, and then the target market is who they are. Sometimes it's one and the same. Frequently it's not. Frequently your brand is going to be different than the people that you represent, but understanding them very, very well so you're making a good fit is important. Then resource allocation. Oh, this is really important for entrepreneurs because we don't have endless resources. We're talking about, paying somebody $3,000 that doesn't do anything in the first month. That's a lot of money for what are you doing with my resources? So we have to make sure that we're allocating them most efficiently. And I'll talk a little bit about some of my top thoughts when it comes to marketing and resource allocation. Disqualification also goes with resource allocation because if you're marketing to somebody that is not a good fit, you're wasting money. You're spending money on the wrong people. And I'll take it a step further. I'll say that it's kind of arrogant if you don't. If I have marketing services, if my marketing is not right for you and I'm insistent that you sign this contract, that's something about it it's not only appropriate to be judgmental in that circumstance, it's unethical if you're not judgmental. If I can't help you, I should not be encouraging you to sign this contract. I'm only looking to sign contracts with people that are going to love what we do, and I'm going to love working with them because I'm at a point right now that I don't have to work with anyone, so I just want to, the reason we've been working with Christine for 10 years is because I like Christine. I like the work that we do together, and I want all my clients to be that way. So I try hard for her, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And then when you get down to the last one, to converting, well, now we've had good discernment, we've disqualified. This is the part where if you don't convert people that really need what you have to sell, if you have mental health service and you know that them following your instructions is going to help this person have a better life, you better close the deal. You better get them to do the thing that they need to do. If you don't, you're kind of stealing from them. You have like an obligation. I really do feel this way, that if your thing is something that the other person needs, you got to close the deal. It may be uncomfortable to ask for the business, to look the person in the eye, like, are we going to do this, or to give them, because sometimes it could be a great win-win deal, and people are scared. They don't want to do it. So they'll still need a little bit of encouragement to even do something that's in their best interest. And sometimes it's our responsibility to provide that. I call it tension or pressure or whatever it is. It's wrong to put pressure on somebody that's not in their best interest. But if somebody pressures me to be the best version of myself, thank you. I needed that. So this right here is a slide about brand. We won't go way into branding because branding is really complicated. It's not a lot of people think it's your fonts and your colors and your logo and all that. Branding really boils down to who you are at the essence. It's what you represent, it's what you stand for, and once you know what you stand for, just continue delivering on that over and over. So all of this around here, it's not the shape of it, it's not the fonts that were used, it's what's being said. And if this is consistent through everything that you do, that's the brand. And the brand is strong if your new providers that are coming on, if I read these and I have a conversation with them and I'm like, oh, I see that. I see clarity. I see, these different things. The brand is strong. But if I were to talk with any of the providers and I don't see any connection between this and the providers, then the brand is weak. So it's important from a recruiting perspective. I know that's not what we're talking about today, but important from a recruiting perspective and also from a marketing perspective. Because what you're marketing, you're telling potential clients or potential customers the way you're going to be. So you show up and I'm going to be this way. But if the people that I bring on my team are not the same, they have different values and they provide their service different than what people expect because they're coming to me, then there's a mismatch and then people get upset. They'll leave bad reviews. That's not what I thought. I thought I was getting the Christine experience. Oh, you didn't get the Christine experience today. You got the, whatever. So bringing people onto your team that also follow the brand.
Can I say something about that? So I supervise grad interns, and so I have an opportunity sometimes for 8 months, a year and a half to work with people and vet them. So all of my staff, obviously you know your staff too, but all of my staff have been former interns. And one of the things that's most gratifying to me is if somebody gets directly referred to me and I may see them and or maybe I don't have availability and they see somebody else, and I tell my associates, if someone is better suited with you, then stay with them. And I love it when, I just got a message the other day that a woman was on my schedule 6 or 8 weeks out, but in the meantime she'd been working with one of my associates, and I always tell them, if that's a good fit, stay with that person. So I got this message that said, they're going to stay with Tyler. Beautiful, right? And so, and part of that is also as business owners having residual income, right? But it's just gratifying, and it reinforces that I can hand them off to someone else, and that
you trust.
And it's consistent with the values of the practice. So
yes, absolutely. There are certain hotel chains that are really consistent, and those are the ones I stay at all the time when I go out of town because I know I want that experience. That's what I expect when I stay there, and I know that's what I'm going to get. So this is a gentleman. I helped him start his business, and he was just really surprised about how strategic that I was, how very focused on things. What is the outcome? What are we trying to achieve here? What's the exact target market? So because we don't have infinite amount of resources, so we can't, if you try to be everything, well, that kind of stretches your resources then. And I know that you guys are all doing a bunch of things, right? So you're writing a book, might not be finished this year because you're doing all this other awesome stuff too. It's the more things that you take on, the harder it is to be phenomenal at all of them and get them all done it's just you're diluting your resources. I do too, because I like a lot of things, but it's true. If I would focus on one thing, that thing would be done way faster. The same thing with the target market. If you try to serve too many people again, you're diluting your resources. So you're a whole bunch of things, they're a whole bunch of things. How does anyone know what's going on here? It's really hard to own a spot within the market. This slide right here, I got some of these ideas from Jeb Blunt, some of the ideas just from doing a lot of marketing work. I think that this is one of the most important slides that we have on here. It's a 2x2 matrix, and across the top it has synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is we can talk back and forth. It's a conversation. I say something, you can say something back. We're communicating directly. Asynchronous is like I make a post, maybe somebody can comment on it, but I'm probably not watching. I might see it later. I send an email. I put out a newsletter or something. It's just one-way communication. It doesn't really have the ability to communicate back. We will get into, there are some ways that you can get some communication back on this, but it's not nearly as good as synchronous communication. And then down here in this category right here, I'll describe this first actually. The one-to-one is what we just talked about. One-to-many is operating at scale. So I'm here, and then there's people. I'm talking more to the one person. That's great because it's scale. The bigger you do it, the larger the scale. But the bigger you do it, it does start to break down a little bit of the synchronous, because I can watch you guys and see who's who's like paying attention, who seems to be interested. All that is information back to me. And then there's this quadrant right here with the asynchronous and one-to-many. That's what everyone sees that I do. That's not really what I want people to focus on, but that's what they see that I do. It's important. You know, I don't want to tell people it's not important. That's a decent amount of what the business does, but I think that it's the wrong focus. Because if you focus on this right here and not the other stuff, this is where you start seeing a bunch of AI-generated stuff that nobody cares about. You're just trying to put things out, speaking to somebody that has no ability to communicate back. You're not listening anyways, that you just start creating content that way. And I think that that's the wrong way to approach content generation. So it's not that it's bad. If it was bad, I would put it in red. It's not. It's good. It's okay. In fact, it's necessary to keep yourself top of mind for people. But you want to move people from here over here. Face-to-face conversation is where it's going to happen. That's where all the deals are going to be made. That's where all the transactions are going to happen. That's where you need to be. But frequently, it's hard to get somebody from social media to face-to-face if they don't know you already. So frequently, you will have to go through one of these yellow channels before you can get over to this green channel. Now, the area that I think that you should focus on is the one where the magnifying glass is. The reason I think that this is easier for a lot of people is you can just jump straight to a phone call. Anybody ever do cold calls? People hate it. People hate cold calls. You won't do it. You might for a little bit, but it feels not so good. Same thing with jumping into face-to-face. You know, knock on a door. Can I sell you? Oh, it's hard work. It's really stressful to do that kind of stuff, and you're not really positioned very well. Right now, I'm positioned better because I'm standing up here. You know, it's better than if I came knocking on your door, right? Knocking on your door while you're busy, I'm not going to get the same greeting that I got when I came here today. So I think that this is the ideal place to focus, and from here, try to move people to green, and then even you can hit these other two categories with the stuff that comes off of this today. So I say today because I'm doing this right now. So I'm right here doing a presentation in public, but I'm going to get clips off of this for social media, off of these cameras. I'm going to put this content onto a blog post and then share it with you guys afterwards. But that blog post is going to live there, and there are going to be other females that are going to go to our website. They're going to say, "Oh, that's cool that he was a part of that." So I'm getting a lot of mileage out of what's going on by focusing on this category. I know that you guys have an interest in doing some of that work, so that's good news.
What is that category? I'm sorry.
What's that?
One's synchronous and one's a mini.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, what is it saying? They're
Public speaking,
Oh, I
live streaming,
Yeah.
sharing.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll like I said, I'll put that page together for you guys, and
You can also, if you want to make it bigger on the vibe, you could. Because we don't necessarily need, I didn't know how many people.
it's a touch screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is there any way for me to be able to see this slides? Because it's really hard to follow without the visual.
I got screen shared. If you can't see the screen share?
Is there a screen share
No.
down at the bottom?
Alright, I put it on when I added it. Share. Maybe it's over time.
Ah, there it goes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
good.
wasn't.
Ah.
Share.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that's probably good. And
Can you make your slide a little bigger?
make mine a little bigger. Yeah, it'll just cut off some of the next ones. I'll blow this up for just a moment. And Sean, anything that you missed, like I said, I'll make sure that I put this on the web page and I'll share it with Candace and Christine. We'll make sure that everyone gets it. All right. Okay, move on to disqualifying. So in this segment, I really think about things as barters. I think about it as being some sort of exchange. That you got to make sure that the person that you're engaging with has the ability to make the exchange that you're looking for. So if you're looking for money out of the exchange, there's got to be some way for them to pay money in order for whatever it is that you're giving. Not all exchanges work that way. I mean, we're having an exchange right now. You guys are giving me your time, and I'm sharing some information. And hopefully that is a good exchange. Hopefully we walk away from this feeling like that it was worth it for both parties. But it's always that way. It has to be a win-win. Now, the next slide talks about there's a difference between it being a win-win and it being a really great win-win. So there's a difference between a relationship you maintain because it's barely worth it. Person kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, but they're kind of nice, and you keep them in your life because they're net positive. But man, they get close. They're on the line a lot. There's a difference between that person and the person you marry. I hope that there's like a gigantic difference, that the net positive is way net positive on one person and much less net positive on the other one. The other one's barely making the cut. Your clients are the same way too. You can find clients because based on your brand, they love what you do. Everything that you do is amazing. So they pay you a certain price, but man, they're getting so much value out of it because the brand is something that they love. And then you should be the same way with discerning who you work with. I just talked earlier about I'm not looking to take on every client. I'm looking to take on clients that I enjoy working with, and so I get this extra benefit. I'm looking for this. I have a ton of these opportunities. And it's not that I dislike any of these people. I wish these people very well. It's not right for me and where I'm at right now. They could probably find somebody that does this, that they're this for, but they're not this for me. So I have to pass. It's hard, but it's important to pass on work. Once you get to where you can, you really should. Now, saying that is one thing, doing it is another. How we do it is with something called lead scoring. Everything that happens, and I'm going to take you back a couple slides so I can try to tie these two things together. When we talk about this category that's one-to-one and asynchronous, email, direct messaging, video, voicemail, snail mail, most of these things are because I have your contact information. And that's an important step because over here at social media, I don't necessarily have your contact information. Somebody's a follower that follows me on YouTube. I don't know who that person is. They're just somebody. But over here, they have given me the right to contact them. They said, here's my email address. I have them on a mailing list. I can send them a text message. But when you have somebody's contact information, you can start to listen to their behavior. So I can listen to your behavior sitting in front of you. I can see if you're listening or not. I can see if you're, engaged. But I can do that on these platforms too, but via metrics. So I know if you open the email, I know if you clicked on anything in the email. I know if you scrolled in the email. I know if you watched the video. I know how much of the video you watched. I know how far into it you scrolled. I know if you clicked on something. I know if you went deeper into the website that you checked us out. So all of that behavior, from the email that happens there to the tracking that goes on the website, it's all connected together and it's all part of a profile on an individual. That's how I know if how strong the relationship is. So I can look at people's lead score and like, that person loves what we do. That person is way into our ecosystem. And in fact, I can tell if that person is really interested in the videography work that we do. They don't really look at anything else that I do, but they're really interested in the live events that I do. So live events and turn it all the way up. That might be a great response. That might be a perfect barter. Maybe I have somebody that does live events that needs some work that I'm going to give this person a call. So that's basically how you do it. And then we have a model where each time something happens, you get a tally on that one particular thing. And then the depth with which somebody is engaging, because not everything's equal. You could open an email and that's worth something, but if you go to like a checkout page or if you go to the contact us page and you're really reading it, those are stronger indications that this person really wants to be contacted. So they get more points for that type of behavior. And then everything depreciates over time, because you might be real interested right now, but in a month, 2 months, 3 months, you might have other agendas. You might be in a different space, have different priorities in your life. So we got to make sure that those points drop off over time. That's how you do it from a technical side. And I know I'm not getting real into the weeds and how that happens. It's just very technical how to do that, but that's how you do it at scale.
Well, and what they do for me is, all of that is beyond my bandwidth. But Mark, who also works, for Aaron, he'll send me, because I've always said, I know what you do it well, I don't need to know it. But they'll send me like 5 to 7 minute video update, and Mark will send me an email with a link, and then I go to it and he'll talk through. So here's the data, this is how many people looked at your podcast, or this is how many people were on the website, and this is how deep they went. And so it's a way I know that they're doing their job, and it keeps me at least apprised, but the details I don't have to think about.
Yeah.
And this is how many conversions from this, whatever, ad or whatever. And how many people scheduled and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice. I've appreciated the reciprocity and the feedback, even though I don't care about it, and they know that. So that's why they showed it, because I have the bandwidth of like 3 to 7 minutes to know what you're talking about.
And honestly,
as far as stats go.
And honestly, we don't care that you don't care. We know that that's going to be the case for the majority of people, but we want to provide transparency, because there's a lot of things that we do that you can't see that we do. Your website went down and it came right back up. You never knew it was down, but Corey was working on that thing at midnight last night, so I want you to know that we took care of that problem for you. So sometimes we provide those updates on a regular basis. We do them every 2 weeks. So we have, I don't want to get too much into like our operations, but I think it's important because you had mentioned working with people that you're like, I don't know what the heck they're doing or if they're doing anything. I think it's really important to provide transparency and to make the invisible visible. What is it that you're doing? At any point in time, if anyone wants to jump in and see the care that we take to make sure that their brand is moving forward, they can review those videos. They can look and see that, oh, did Aaron just make people write that up in APA format and say how statistically significant that change was? Yeah, he did that, because that's part of our brand. We're curious, resourceful, empirical. Curious because curiosity is where everything starts. No curiosity, no movement forward. Resourceful is because we're entrepreneurs, right? It gets hard. There's going to be blocks. We're going to have to get through those blocks. And then empirical, because I don't like to just leave it to chance. A lot, you probably, from the engineering side, too many people on the marketing side, they're just like, I have a good idea. It's going to be great. How do you know? How do you know that's how the target market wants to be spoken to? How do you know that that was an improvement? Did it help convert? What was the goal? So I always tell people, who's it for and what's it for, and how will we know if it's working? And then we set up a test, literally. What's your hypothesis? Why should that hypothesis work based on our previous test or based on what we know about literature, basically, and set it up, run it, and then we report out to the client every 2 weeks. We ran this test. We're trying to improve conversion rates. We're trying to get more clicks from Google. We're trying to get more people to open the emails. We're trying to get more people to fill out our forms. Very little things like the order, the sequence of your questions on your Contact Us form makes a huge difference. You can increase how many people complete that form by like 50% by changing the order of some of your questions. That is mind-blowing to me that matters, but it matters. So we test it, we replicate it until I can say it with confidence that, yeah, that's a real effect, that matters. So just making sure you're finding great customers. And great customers leave.
So you do that with each individual company and their market and all of that, or you do that just in general with marketing as a whole? Both.
I do that with each individual company. Okay. So it is, to pull that off requires very expensive software or for you to host your own software. So we put a server that like you're about to find out just how nerdy we are, but we put a server in my home that we run open source software off of, and we have each of our clients has an application that runs off of that server that Corey built out. That allows us to provide a level of marketing that is just not affordable for most people, because doing lead scoring on most platforms is very expensive, and then once you get so many leads in that system, they tear up really fast. So like people that can do it, or Salesforce, HubSpot, they're great, they're fantastic until you start to get successful, and then they start taking a big and I'm not even talking about manning the thing, I'm just talking about just the software as a service becomes really expensive. I've tried to negotiate with them multiple times, saying our clients just cannot afford that. Like I could maybe use that because I do business to business, but they can't afford, they got to have a whole bunch of clients in there, and that's going to put them at that, they're not going to be able to afford that. So anyways, after doing all that, we end up using an open source software that we serve off of one of our servers, and that allows us to collect all of that data. And then each one, tetraprime.com was the original URL, but that one is tetraprime.tech, and that's where all of our applications run off of. So they're individually housed on separate virtual machines. Okay, so we're to this point where we need to convert people. You know, it's our responsibility now. I know that this is a great deal for you. I know this needs to happen. How do I do that? Because I want you to think of this just as a hill, and maybe I didn't realize how many nerdy things I had in here until I'm talking about this right now. But chemistry, activation, yeah. So this comes out of chemistry. So you have an activation energy. There's a chemical reaction that just should happen. Like it's I won't get into it too much, but it should happen by itself, but it doesn't. It needs a little bit of energy put into the system before it takes off and does its thing. You can get that to happen a couple different ways. You can inject energy into the system, or you can lower the activation energy. There's ways of doing both of those. It's the same for marketing. There's something that should happen. This is a win-win scenario, that you are going to be better off if we make this exchange. I am going to be better off if we make this exchange. That we're both kind of scared. I don't know, are you going to do me wrong? Am I going to be embarrassed by giving you this $3,000 and you don't do anything for me? Oh, I did that last time. And so there's that discomfort. Now, but nonetheless, you got to get over that to make the reaction occur. A couple ways, and we'll talk about some of the ways that you do that. Injecting a little bit of energy into the system, and then lowering the amount of energy that's required from the get-go. Professor Robert Cialdini has done a lot of the work on this. I clustered this together in funnels. I think I heard something about funnel today. So this is the way that I prefer to think about it in its most simple but effective form. So early on, you're going to want to create some sort of liking and reciprocity and inclusion. And so I'm going to kind of like, is it breaking the fourth wall? But I'm going to talk about what I did today. So I came in and I wanted you to know that it was us, that it's not me, a salesperson, and then you guys. I'm going to sit over here and I want you to know that I came from a background of direct patient care. And the reason that I want you to know that is because I understand the journey. I am one of us. Like, I am an entrepreneur. I know what it's like to make that transition. So that's where I start with liking and reciprocity. And then you move into social proof. Social proof is really important for lowering the activation energy because we don't know if we can trust the person. We don't know if this is actually going to happen. So I do a lot of things to leverage authority. You know, that's our empirical side. Everything is super well tested. I cite sources and everything that we do, but also the social proof is important. The fact that I was invited here by Christine, you guys know Christine, that's very helpful. And not just that you know Christine, it's not like Christine met me yesterday. She met me like a decade ago, and we've been working together. And presumably, based on what you respond to that post, you'd like to continue working together. So that is very helpful for giving people the assurance that there's trust here. And then still, people will sometimes still not make the decision. They'll need to do, and I know that you guys, they're out here trying to change people's lives and trying to provide, at least on the mental health services, I'm familiar with that. Oh my gosh, why won't you do the thing? Like, it's clearly in your benefit to do the thing. Sometimes you still have to add a little bit more pressure or tension to the system to get the behavior to occur. And one of the ways to to put pressure into the system is to use consistency principle and scarcity. A lot of times people hear these and they feel uncomfortable about it because if you do this without earning it, it's kind of distasteful. But what I'm going to suggest is that you earn it. You become scarce because you're legitimately scarce. Like, Christine's booked out for a long time. So when she says, I have a waiting list, I'm not bluffing. Like, that's literally what the case is. So I had a client, but you should also use it. If that's true, you should just say it. I had a client that I had 3 people that were trying to work with us at the same time. And I had one that was the preferred client because I felt like I could make a bigger impact for them. Because again, I'm looking for high level win-wins. So I tell this client, I'd like to work with you. The other person is wanting me to close this deal with them within the next week. I'm kind of putting them off right now. Let me know if you want to do business with us. They called my bluff and they say, we just can't make a decision right now. Maybe you should go with the other people. Well, I wasn't bluffing because I actually did the work so I said, okay, I'm going to sign the contract. I can't work with you until I'm successful for them because I won't take on more work than I can handle. I said, once we've achieved a holding pattern for them, once I understand their brand, once we have a good, understand what kind of marketing that they want, once we have a good system going, then I can have our team members keep that going for them, and then I can come over here and help you out, but I can't do that until we're successful for them. So 3 months later, with a recommendation from the new client that I signed, I came back to them and I said, hey, I told you I wouldn't contact you again until we were successful with that other organization. Here's a recommendation from them, the company that we signed with 3 months ago. I'd like to open the conversation again, but just to let you know, scarcity again. There's more people that want to work with us. There's 2 other companies. I don't know like when this is going to shake out, but they knew I wasn't bluffing at that point. They're like, he legit is going to sign one of these contracts if we don't make a move now. So then they say, yes, we want to work with you. I came in and we're still doing business with that client, but it's been a long time. But anyway, that's the benefit of like actually earning it. And then if somebody's been in your ecosystem, they're going to have consistency. Consistency, we don't like to be wishy-washy. If we do something, we just want to not like do a 180 on it and do something different. So if somebody has been with you all along the way, it's easier to get them to close a slightly larger deal. And it can just be small deals that you make up to that point to create consistency. Just little commitments. Oh, that went well. That was beneficial. Okay, well, maybe we can do something bigger. Maybe we can do something bigger. Some of our contracts have worked up in that type of manner. This last slide is just to be like a scientist. That's exactly what I talked about. Just always, always be improving. It's, if you're the kind of person that has a script in your mind that's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I will frustrate the crap out of you because I'm always fixing it. It can always be better because we're not going to break it. The worst case scenario is the old condition will just stay. But I'm going to see if I can do better. I'm always going to try to do better than what I've done before. There's never been a situation where I have not done that. That's how it should be. And then here's the page that I've been referencing today. This is our blog. The page for this presentation, I was kind of updating things until the point where I drove here today. I was thinking about little things like, yeah, I'm going to change that a little bit. So I didn't put it on the page. I didn't create the page before the presentation like I sometimes do, but I'm going to create it afterwards. So if you visit that blog, within a couple days, the page for you guys will be up there, and you can share that with anyone that wasn't able to attend today. And then, how many of you guys have your phones on you? This is a QR code. If you scan that QR code, you could help a marketer out. It just leads you to our Google profile. If you wanted to leave a 5-star review, that would be awesome. And you don't have to say much. You don't have to say anything. You can just leave 5 stars, or you could say that you attended a presentation or that you whatever. You don't have to do it all. You could just pretend like you're scanning it. But this is the recommendation, or this is the review that Christine left us in 2017. I went back and looked that up. I reposted it to our social media, and that's what she replied back with it. That makes me really proud that was 2017, and this was her response in 2026.
So read the original, because I don't know
Okay.
if everybody can see it.
Yep.
Or make it
Let me.
bigger. Yeah, that was 9 years ago. It's my honor to work with the Tetra Prime team. It is my honor to work with the Tetra Prime team. Appreciate their creativity and integrity. Look forward to making this a long-standing working relationship. My charge to them is to manifest the many creative ideas in my mind become a reality, giving them lots of creative license. And then, just the other day, it's been a journey. Love how you've served Kenosis, and I look forward to another near decade of work together. Lovely.
That is the end of what I've got for you today, but what kind of questions do you have for me?